So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
Okay. It's 5. Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm gonna give you some credit. Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Candace Owens is spiraling right now after her closest ally, Charlie Kirk, was taken out in the most shocking way imaginable. Candace and Charlie weren't just friends, they were a political duo, a tag team that went back years. And now, Candace isn't just grieving, she's fired up, vowing to blow the lid off what she calls the real story behind his sudden death. The big question is, what exactly does she know? Is she about to unload some brutal truth bombs that prove this was more than just a random act? Or are we looking at a cover-up so deep that even insiders are scared to speak?
If you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got and she was gonna give birth and she would and she was gonna give birth and she was gonna live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So
Here's what went down. Charlie was on his Turning Point USA tour, hosting an event at Utah Valley University. He was in the middle of a fiery back and forth with an audience member. Everything seemed normal, just another campus clash over policy. But then, chaos. Out of nowhere, a single shot rang out, hitting him in the neck. Witnesses say the bullet struck his carotid artery, the very artery that keeps blood flowing to the brain. The second it hit, Charlie collapsed, bleeding out before anyone could even process what happened. Online chatter has been relentless. Some claim it was a calculated hit, too precise, too sudden, too cold. The rumor mill says the shooter was perched nearly 200 yards away, a professional-style setup that's way too accurate for coincidence. And let's not pretend Charlie didn't have enemies. He was loved by a massive fan base, but he was also hated by just as many people who despised everything he stood for. At the end of the day, nobody should be losing their life over a debate. It's supposed to be about words, not bloodshed. But this tragedy hits even harder because shocking reports say Charlie's wife, Erica, and their 2 little kids were right there in the audience when it all went down.
Shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they were afraid. I mean, 4,000 Black men, women, and children were in violent lynch mobs.
If that's your explanation, but I guess
racial terror permeated American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is worse than it has been
that affected
in the last 80 years.
The generational psyche of an entire group of people?
No, I'm sure it did. I'm not discounting that.
Imagine the horror. They didn't just lose a husband and father, they witnessed it unfold in real time. Their daughter just turned 3. Their son just turned 1. Babies far too young to even grasp the nightmare they just lived through. But here's where the story gets twisted.
I can't stand the word empathy, actually. I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that it does a lot of damage, but...
Because not everyone is mourning. While some are sending prayers, others are digging up Charlie's past, pulling out old clips, old tweets, and resurfacing moments that paint a very different picture of the man. And let's just say, the internet has no mercy. One viral clip shows him declaring that he'd force his own daughter to carry a pregnancy full term, even if she was attacked. Another resurfaced video has him claiming Black people were better off under slavery before the 1940s. Words so outrageous critics can't believe they ever came out of his mouth. And then there's the infamous interview where he flat out said that deaths were simply the price worth paying to protect the Second Amendment. Charlie Kirk had a long list of controversial takes that rubbed people the wrong way, but even in death, his name is still sparking wild reactions. Just look at this. An outlet called Jezebel dropped an article only 2 days before his death bragging that they had literally hired 2 Etsy witches to curse him. One part of the piece is straight out of a movie. It reads, "After placing my first spell, make everyone hate him, I was left with more questions than answers. How long would it take to kick in? Should I have splurged for a pricier spell to make it work faster?" Shortly after, the witch messaged me trying to upsell me a $50 spell booster.
My question to somebody who I know because I don't know you.
Some future president.
Donald Trump Jr. Yeah, Donald Trump Jr. My question is, how do you support your father for the things that he said, such as he believes that you should grab women by the...
He didn't say that. I want to say something. I want to say something. Let me do it.
That's a ridiculous question, first and foremost. Because I'm sure you've never said anything bad in your life.
Are you mad?
I'm sure.
But you just called liberals.
When I asked what it did, She explained it would amplify the energetic support of the main spell, or else I could let it unfold in its natural timing. I decided to trust the witch's will. Creepy, right? Now, nobody's saying magic had anything to do with what happened, but the timing, insane. To their credit, the writers did condemn the act of violence afterward and distanced themselves from the shooting. Still, the fact that people were openly joking about paying for curses on his life shows just how much anger Charlie stirred up. Social media hasn't been kind to either. One person tweeted, "Not having empathy for someone who didn't extend it to others is a normal human reaction. You're not obligated to manufacture sorrow and empathy for anyone." Others went even further, pointing out that Charlie himself once admitted he didn't even believe in empathy. This whole situation is a toxic firestorm, and the political world is shaken to its core. Leaders from both sides, Republicans and Democrats, have rushed to speak out, showing just how big Charlie Kirk's shadow really was. Donald Trump took to Twitter with a message dripping in praise. "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me. And now, he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife Erica and family. Charlie, we love you." Barack Obama also weighed in saying, "We don't yet know what motivated the person who attacked Charlie Kirk, but this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy." Michelle and I will be praying for Charlie's family tonight, especially his wife Erica and their 2 young children. Joe Biden chimed in too. "There is no place in our country for this kind of violence. It must end now." Jill and I are praying for Charlie Kirk's family and loved ones, and Kamala Harris followed with her own statement. "I am deeply disturbed by what happened in Utah. Doug and I send our prayers to Charlie Kirk and his family. Let me be clear, political violence has no place in America. I condemn this act, and we must all work together to ensure this does not lead to more violence." But when it comes to Candace Owens, her response wasn't polished statements. It was raw, immediate emotion. The second news broke. She tweeted in desperation, "Everyone, please stop what you are doing and pray for Charlie Kirk. Please." That wasn't politics. That was pain. She and Charlie weren't just colleagues. They were ride or die allies, sitting on panels together, traveling the country side by side, and amplifying each other's voices at event after event. Candace was crushed, absolutely shattered. And here's the heartbreaking part. When she fired off that first desperate tweet asking people to pray, Charlie was still alive. Reuters reported the timeline. Around 12:20, the shooting happened. He was rushed to a local hospital, listed in critical condition, and taken straight into surgery. But despite everything, he didn't make it. Once his death was confirmed, Candace tweeted, "I can't process this." But grief quickly turned into fire. Candace began demanding the truth, throwing herself into uncovering what really happened. And that's when a wild theory dropped online. A user posted, "A private jet under the tail number N888KG left Provo Airport an hour after the shooting. 30 minutes into the flight, it dropped off ADS-B illegally and reappeared headed back to Provo about an hour later. Why did this plane turn off its radar?" Candace didn't ignore it. She jumped in replying, "If anybody knows anything about this, please comment below or email tips@candaceallens.com. She's convinced this wasn't some lone gunman acting on impulse. In her own words, "I can't believe this is real. Who called the hit on Charlie? We need answers." And she's not alone in that suspicion. The FBI has confirmed they're fully locked in. In their official statement, they said, "As soon as we heard about this, special agents and personnel from the Salt Lake City field office responded immediately. We have full resources devoted to this investigation, including tactical, operational, investigative, and intelligence. To be clear, the FBI will fully support and co-lead this investigation alongside our partners." This is a tragic story, one that's spiraling with more questions than answers. But I want to hear what you think. Was this bigger than it seems, or just a lone act of violence? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this video so more people can join the conversation.